Apparently, William Nylander of the Toronto Maple Leafs is on the market, and the Toronto Maple Leafs have asked any teams interested to start preparing formal offers. We'll discuss this information coming up next. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and discuss all 31 NHL teams, so if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. So last night on Hockey Night in Canada's second intermission segment called Saturday Headlines, reporter Elliotte Friedman has reported that the Maple Leafs apparently do have forward William Nylander on the trade market. Starting today on Sunday here, November the 11th, there is 19 days remaining here for him to sign and still be able to play this season. So, of course, as we know, they still reported as well that it is still the Maple Leafs' #1 priority and preference to sign and keep William Nylander as a long-term part of the Toronto Maple Leafs. But as we inch day by day closer to this deadline, it is becoming more and more likely that they may have to make a move here. Elliotte Friedman also mentioned during this report that it is believed that the Toronto Maple Leafs have tabled a new offer here for Nylander's contract as well, and it's believed to be somewhere in the neighborhood of the David Pastrnak contract. So it'll be like a 6-year deal, somewhere around $6.5 or so million. Now, of course, if that's on the table and it's not being accepted, I'm not really sure that the Toronto Maple Leafs would be willing to go a whole lot higher. Now, we've seen reports in the past indicating that the Nylander camp was looking for somewhere around 8 or even more at times. We've heard different numbers. We've heard 7, we've heard 8. It's really hard to say exactly what the true number is that the Nylander camp is asking for, but again, as I've mentioned before, I do think it's pretty safe to say that it's probably at least 7 or more, and it's more than the Maple Leafs are currently offering. Otherwise, this would be all signed, done, and looked after. So basically here, the Toronto Maple Leafs do still want to sign William Nylander, but they are letting other teams know that if they're interested in acquiring a young forward, that they can start putting together some offers, and basically they want to know from other teams that are interested, who would they consider trading or not trading. So they want to have a list of players from different teams that they'd be willing to part with, or ones that are kind of off limits here, so they can kind of start planning ahead for plan B here should a contract extension not come to terms. So as we reported on here before, it does seem likely that the Toronto Maple Leafs don't want the deadline to come and go for William Nylander to play this year without either having a contract in place or to have him traded to acquire another asset. I mean, I don't think William Nylander ideally wants to sit out this entire season as well. So if we don't have a deal in place here before December the 1st, then it does seem quite likely that the Maple Leafs will trade him. Now, of course, that goes to say that they get the right offer that they'd be willing to accept. There does remain that possibility as well that the deadline could come and go. I don't see the Maple Leafs shipping him off just because the deadline is, imminent here, just to recoup what they can, because really at the end of the day, he could end up sitting out for the rest of the year, and it's still an asset that they have under their control. Doesn't mean obviously that they'll come to terms later, or this could drag on for, however longer, but at the end of the day, they're not going to trade him just for the sake of trading him. They need to get the right deal in place here to help their hockey club move forward and to get this scenario looked after. During this segment, it was also mentioned by Chris Johnson that at this point in time, there also doesn't seem to be any meaningful dialogue on contract extensions for either forward Austin Matthews or Mitch Marner. It seems though as everything is quiet on that front for right now. I would imagine that their camps are kind of waiting to see how this Nylander situation plays out before they really get into much of meaningful dialogue around a contract extension. Based on information we've had earlier, it looks as though Mitch Marner was not really overly interested in signing during the season. They would prefer to wait and do that one in the summertime. It did seem before that Austin Matthews' camp was interested in possibly getting the extension done during the season, or at least open to talking about it. But as of right now, there's been no further discussions or really any kind of progress to mention on those fronts either. So, of course, over the last couple of weeks here and up to right now, there's the usual suspects are still reportedly interested, being the Carolina Hurricanes and Los Angeles Kings. As we know, the Carolina Hurricanes have been struggling to score goals as of late, and the LA Kings have gotten off to a surprisingly very weak start, and they're looking to shake things up as well. I mean, they've already moved the coach out and tried Willie Desjardins. So far, they've lost their first couple games under his watch, and I do believe that Rob Blake will want to tinker with that roster, but he might find it difficult, giving a lot of the longer-term contracts for some of their older veterans. However, the Hurricanes and Kings apparently do remain interested. Elliotte Friedman himself has mentioned the Flyers as a stealth team in the past. I don't really know that he has some information to suggest that they're really trying hard to make that happen, but he just believed that they would be a good fit. And now some other teams to keep your eyes on as well. If you look around the NHL and see teams that are struggling, especially ones that are struggling to score goals, obviously Nylander would be a big help in that regard, considering his superior offensive abilities here. So I think the Anaheim Ducks are a team to keep your eyes on. I think the New York Rangers are another team to watch as well. Now the Rangers are going through a rebuild. They're looking to trade out some veterans. They want to get younger, faster, more skilled. Well, William Nylander fits that description perfectly, and they do have some interesting assets on the Rangers side that might be appealing to the Maple Leafs. Now, of course, I don't have any information at this point to suggest these teams are making formal offers here or that they're going to. They're just my opinion on teams that I think makes the most sense to try to acquire here the young Swedish hockey player. For the most part, the teams we've heard the most here is the Kings and the Hurricanes, and it's, I guess, debatable if they have the right assets that the Leafs are really looking for. When it comes to the Carolina Hurricanes, the players that we've heard the most, but kind of mentioned here as a potential return, was defenseman Brett Pesce. We've seen numerous reports indicating that the Leafs were kind of really high on him, that if they were to make a trade with the Hurricanes, that he would probably be the preferred defenseman. However, I wouldn't completely rule out the fact that we could see Dougie Hamilton maybe be considered by the Hurricanes in a package for Nylander as well. Now, I know they just acquired him from Calgary during the offseason, but I don't think things have been the greatest start for Hamilton here in Carolina. They do have an abundance of defensemen, and for an opportunity to land a guy like Nylander, it's something that they would consider. Now, I don't have information to say for sure that that's something they would want to do. There's no rumors around that. That's just an opinion that's been floating around out there, and I must say it does kind of make sense to a degree, so I wouldn't completely rule out either. Hamilton could very well be that big right shot defenseman that the Leafs so desperately are looking for, so hard to say. Now, like I said, again, I don't have any speculation here to say that that's something that's being looked at, but to me, it would kind of make sense since the Hurricanes appear to be all in, as has been reported here many times over in the past. Now, of course, LA, I do have concerns they would have the right assets to land Nylander. I'm not really sure that the Leafs would be interested in much they have to offer. I can certainly see them being interested in pushing hard. I'm just not really sure that they, they really would have what it would take to land this player. You look at a team like the Anaheim Ducks, for example, though they do have a good mix of young forwards ND. They do have some veterans as well, like Perry and Kessler have been battling some injuries, and having a young, youthful guy like Nylander on the lineup here certainly would be a good help, but what would they be able to give up here? The Anaheim Ducks have had an abundance of good, strong, young defensemen here, and some of them have already been moved out here over the past couple seasons, so I'm not sure that's a road they want to go down, but they do have technically the assets that are speculated the Leafs would be looking for. When it comes to the New York Rangers, I'm not really sure exactly what they would offer the Leafs to make it attractive, but again, I can see them being a team interested. Seeing where they're going at with their rebuild here, I think Nylander would fit in well for their long-term plans and what they're trying to accomplish there in the Big Apple. So as always, I want to hear your thoughts and comments down below in the comment section. What do you think about the fact here that the Toronto Maple Leafs apparently have Nylander on the market, and you want to evaluate offers here from other teams? Leave your thoughts down below and we'll continue the conversation in the comment section. If you're new to the channel here, I hope you consider subscribing. We cover all 31 NHL teams, and there's plenty of content here for all hockey fans to enjoy. So if you're new, hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button as well. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you very much for watching, everybody. We will catch you next time.